G'day guys, how we going? Well, here we are back again for another Wednesday night live chat. Good to see a few you guys there already ready to go. G'day Greg, how you going there, mate? Thanks very much for dropping in there. But yeah, look, tonight we're going to have a chat about, because it's that time of year, snow season's on, and everyone's sort of pretty keen to get up there and get in amongst some snow. But tonight we're going to talk about the winter diesel fuel additive and the mix you should make and how important it is, particularly if you've got a diesel motor. So that is the topic for tonight. But look, if you're just joining in for the first time and just catching up with my channel, Tim Bates is my name, and I've got a YouTube channel there, Tim Bates Four Drive Ventures. Film all my trips and travels that I go on, and provide a lot of tips and hints and that sort of thing amongst my channel there. So check it out there if you are pretty keen to see what else goes on amongst my channel. So we'll get into it. But Damien, g'day mate, how you going there? Thanks very much for coming in tonight. Jimbo, thanks mate. Gary, how are you? Guy, good on you guys. Thanks very much for dropping in there, guys, tonight. So we'll get into this. So it really only if you've got a diesel motor full drive. I don't think this really. I've never heard petrol engines being affected by the cold and that sort of thing. So it's really about diesel motors, because one of the problems with a diesel fuel, at extreme low temperatures, the fuel can freeze and gel up in your fuel lines and that sort of thing. So it is a big problem to if you get it badly enough. So we're going to go into sort of what I go about throughout the winter time. Now I mix my own pretty much all the time. So I've just been away for the Queen's birthday long weekend. Fair enough. Yeah, it was amazing weather. There was no snow forecast, but there were some extremely low temperatures. Now, I went away on Saturday, but I started looking through Weather Zone, which I've spoken about a little bit in the past, about where I get all my snow and weather forecasts and that sort of stuff. Now, I just got a couple here. Now, this was last Friday up on Mount Hotham. I can show you these here. But this is Mount Hotham last Friday night. Now, they were forecasting -1. On the Saturday there, they were forecasting again another -1 at that altitude. Sunday night, they were forecasting -3. Again, no snow, beautiful crisp days and nights like what we've been having. Absolutely amazing weather, but really cold, freezing nights. And then we get into Monday there, and they were forecasting -5. And this is all over the long weekend. And then Tuesday, they were forecasting again another -4. You're probably thinking, well, it's only when it snows where you're going to have this problem. Well, it's not always the case. It's not that white fluffy stuff that generally causes this problem. It's purely low temperatures. And when you're getting those sort of low temperatures, if you're going to be camping up at elevation, it's where you've got to be extremely careful. Now, went away Saturday, went out through Lacola, and we camped with a couple of mates up on Howard High Plains. Now, we were up at 1560, some were up around there, fairly high elevation, which these temperatures really, really come into play. Now, I mixed my own fuel before I left. Now, this is the mix the stuff that I've been using. The winter fuel, diesel fuel additive there by Flash Lube. Now, I'm not associated with this brand at all. Now, I've been using this one now for a few years, and I've found it fantastic. I just put 100 mils into my 90 litre tank, and I've found it works extremely well. I've been using it now for probably 4 or 5 years, and it's been really good. So you need to really take that into account with mixing your own. And that way, your full drive's going to start before the next day, particularly if you're going to camp out. It's not so much bad if you're just going to go up there for a day trip. But if you're going to camp out, you really need to take in your fuel. If you've got a diesel full drive, you need to really seriously think about your fuel mix and whether you're going to start it the next day. But even for a day trip, I still mix my own fuel, and I still mix an Alpine mix every single time, because you just never know. You might get up there and go out there for driving on a few tracks, only planning a day trip, but something could go wrong. You could end up spending the night out there. So always go prepared and get that fuel mixed well and truly before you go. Now, around some of the service stations, around the Vic High Country there, they have what they call it Alpine mix. And that's all great, to get Alpine mix in your tank. But what you've really got to take into account with that Alpine mix, for every litre of normal diesel you've still got in your tank when you're filling up, it's diluting that Alpine mix down. So if you're, say, you only got three quarters of tank and you pull into Omeo or Mansfield or whatever, and you're just going to do a splash and dash of Alpine mix, well, look, it's probably going to be better than nothing. But at the end of the day, it may not be sufficient enough for you guys if you're going to camp out, particularly overnight. So this is why I mix my own fuel every single trip before I leave home. So by the time I get up, to where I need to go and do a splash and dash, my fuel's well and truly all mixed up, and then I'll do a top up of my, with the Alpine fuel at the service stations, and then by the time I leave the towns there, wherever I'm going, I know I've still got 100% tank of Alpine mix in my fuel tank. So you really need to be extremely on it with that, because if you get this badly enough, the problem with this gelling up, if you get it badly enough, seriously, and you wake up the next morning, go to start, and it won't start. If you get it badly enough where your fuel's, gelled up or freezed up in the lines, you Finnegan won't get your car started, and you'll be needing a flatbed truck to get it out. So this time of year, you really need to be on the ball and really take that Alpine mix well and truly into account, and think about mixing your own before you go, or even get as much Alpine diesel, if nothing else, get as much Alpine diesel from the service stations into your tank before you head up. As I say, even for a day trip, I still mix my own, so make sure it's all good. But we'll just drop in and see if you're here. Thomas, what's going on, mate? Thanks very much for coming in there. Ed, Full Driving and Camping, thanks very much, mate, for dropping in for a chat. Sean, how you going there, mate? Thanks very much for coming in to see what's going on. Matt, love your show. Thanks very much. Greatly appreciate the feedback there, mate. So, that's where are we here now? With got a few notes here I'm sort of going through, but it's mainly those high altitudes. Like when we were away on the weekend, we had we woke up every morning to complete whiteouts, and we camped it up at Hotham, or where was it? Howard High Plains there, as I said, on Saturday night, and then we were down in Wanagata on the Sunday, and again we woke up to a complete whiteout, icy ground, and again, but I wasn't concerned because I had my fuel already mixed up. And then the next night there, we were camped over at Eagle Vale, and again, we had a little thermometer there from one of my mates had, thermometer there for his fridge, and we left that out overnight. We're waking up to sort of -2s and 3s every morning now. That's the sort of temperatures where you could potentially have some issues with your diesel motors. But just another tip there, which I've sort of done. I've got a photo here. I'll see if I can quickly find that I took from the weekend. Another thing that I certainly do. And I'll see if I can span this up. Now this is camped up on Howard High Plains. Now you'll see I've got a drop sheet there, and this is just a extension sheet for my awning, and I've got it thrown over the bonnet. Again, if you're camped out in the open, this is a really good idea to do, put a sheet over your bonnet, and it's just like parking your full drive in the garage. When you park a car in the garage, you don't get any ice and that sort of stuff going on. But if you leave it parked outside, well, you'll wake up in the morning and be covered in ice and whatever else. So that I find also works extremely well to keeping a bit of insulation there for your motor. For starting up on those really cold mornings. And I did that every morning, I threw that tarp over the bonnet, and the old patrol, it started up like clockwork every single morning on those 3 really freezing cold days. So, it's, as I say, it's not just that white stuff, it's purely sub-zero conditions. And when you're getting temperatures down under 0 or below, you really need to think about your fuel, particularly if you've got a diesel four-wheel drive. Guy, what's going there, mate? Is Alpine Diesel from the Bowser okay? It is, but as I sort of mentioned before, it just all depends, mate, on how much you're actually putting in your tank. Because, if you're only doing a splash and dash, you've got, half a tank or 3/4 of a normal tank of diesel going in, and you're just doing a splash and dash with Alpine mix, well, that Alpine mix has been diluted down because of your normal diesel that's still in your tank. Again, it's probably going to be better than nothing, but, yeah, for me, I just go with that peace of mind. And I mix my own, as I say, with this stuff every single time whenever I'm going out, and I just do a splash and dash with the Alpine mixes from the service stations. So that should hopefully answer your question out there, mate. Matt, is this the same for new and older engines? Well, I don't really know about newer and older engines. I'm just purely diesel, full stop. So diesel is just that, does have that problem. It's not so much the motor; it's purely the diesel, the fuel that we use, and it's in the line. So it's between your fuel tank and your engine is where generally the problem starts. Freezes up in there, and it can work its way up and be up under the bonnet too. Now, I've certainly seen people, where they, have this problem in the mornings, and sometimes, boil a bit of warm water, and you can pour some warm water over the top of your fuel system there, and that sometimes does help. But as I say, if you get this bad enough, and the thing with this gelling up and the freezing up, it doesn't thaw out. So, once you get it, it's in your lines. It doesn't thaw out because of heat, if it's right down low in your fuel lines. So you really need to be careful of that. And that's what I say, if you really get it badly enough and your fuel won't flow through your lines and up into your engine where it needs to be, you're feeding and won't get your car started. And if you can't get it started, you'll be calling for a flatbed truck to get your vehicle out. So you just need to be very, very careful of that. Shane, was 5 on Monday morning, up at Keith's at Wonnangatta. Yep, absolutely, mate. And didn't have a problem with the car starting. Yeah, that's pretty good. We were in there also Wonnangatta as well on when we were there Sunday morning. And we had those same temperatures. Another thing I've certainly done too, which I never sort of promote about parking, camping under trees, but the big tall mountain ash, I wouldn't be camping under those, but some of the little snow gums, I've certainly camped under those or parked my full drive under some of those snow gums. And it's the same sort of thing, it's like parking your car in the garage because you've got the canopy of the trees over the top there, which gives you that bit of protection, from the elements. And this is a classic example. It's a good few years ago now. I was camped up at Horseyard Flat up near the Pinnacles. And heap of us, we camped in, around that river there, if some of you have been there, under the snow gums there. And the next morning we had the same weather what we've had just this weekend, complete crystal clean night, really, really crisp. And we woke up in the morning to a complete whiteout. Now, there was a few people that were camped out in the complete open, and it was those guys that had, a couple of them had some pretty serious trouble on getting their vehicle started. But the ones that were camped in under the trees, under the snow gums there, no worries at all, start the vehicle up. And we had no worries, but we did end up getting those cars started, which was a good thing. So I didn't have to worry about calling any trucks to come pick them up. Chuck, how you going there, mate? Chuck Berry, good on you. Thanks very much for dropping in there, mate. Greatly appreciate it. Taylor, fellow ZD30 owner, great to hear your tips and tricks. Thanks very much, mate. Greatly appreciate that feedback there, mate. Awesome stuff. Muzz P, great tip with the tarp over the bonnet. Yeah, look, as I say, I've been using the tarp, or whether it be that one or something else, but just drape something over the bonnet there, and I find it works an absolute treat. It just gives you that bit of an insulation barrier between the cold elements outside and your motor, and I've always found it works really, really well. And look, you can never take enough safety precautions when you're camping in those sort of sub-zero conditions. So yeah, chuck a tarp over the bonnet, works an absolute treat, mate. Robert Lewis here. What is Alpine Diesel? Well, Alpine Diesel is what you get at the service stations, and they put this additive. Look, it might be very similar to this. I don't really know what they put in their fuels from the service station, but it's called Alpine Diesel, and it's pretty similar to what I'm making, because I'm making my own Alpine Diesel with this stuff. So it's pretty much the same. So, and all the Alpine service stations, your Mansfields, Omeos. I know Moe's got it up the road up here. And there'll be a few others around, and they'll have it at the service station. Now, that generally starts, the Alpine Mix, I think, starts Queen's birthday weekend, or maybe even a week before, because that's when the official snow season kicks in, so they get all that fuel going. So, but, that's the other thing, too, you got to think about, early on in the season, when they're getting that Alpine Mix going, well, I don't think there's a separate tank for the Alpine Mix and the normal diesel. So when the Alpine Mix diesel truck comes, he's pouring it in on top of the normal diesel, so is that then diluted it down as well. So, these are just all things that I certainly take well and truly into account, and it's probably well worth it, if you've got a diesel motor. Bosto, what's going on, mate? Thanks very much for dropping there. High Country around Talbotville for the first time because of you. Thanks very much. Greatly appreciate that. Hope you had a great time. Talbotville's a great spot, mate. And up there at Blue Rag, Blue Rag's just a cracking spot. Amazing views up there, that's for sure. So thanks very much for dropping in tonight, mate. Ross Stanford, how you going there, mate? Thanks very much for dropping in. Greg, Greg Willis, how you going there, mate? Alpine adds another 10 cents a litre. There you go in Mansfield, where we're often for the most expensive fuel in Victoria. Well, there you go. So the fuel prices have even gone up a bit, coming from Greg there, who's based there in Mansfield. That Alpine mix has gone up 10 cents a litre because of it. So maybe it's a bit more expensive to mix up. So maybe they've got to put it up to sort of justify and cover a few extra costs. So there you go. Ed, full driving and camping. Where was the pick gone? Yeah, I've taken it down. It's just down here on the floor, mate. I took it down because I was a bit concerned it might fall on my head there one night during one of these. So I've taken it down because it did actually fall down there one day. So I've covered all bases, mate. And it's I'd hate to be talking to you guys there one night and this big picture up on the wall there falls on my head. So it's now on the ground. Thomas, looking at going away the week after next with my partner. Any areas you recommend this time of year? Thinking of Woods Point, Gaffney's Creek, and onwards somewhere else. Cheers. Yeah, look, if you're after a bit of snow, again, you're just going to have to wait for it to fall because I wouldn't think there's probably a lot, lying around any sort of lower elevations at the moment. We had a couple of patches up around, Howard Hut on the weekend, but nothing really. And there's nothing really in the forecast at the minute. So, but yeah, later in the year, look, if you're after a bit of snow, Woods Point up around the top of Jamison there, it is worth getting up there. You're always going to get a bit of snow up top of Jamison there, up on Mount Terrible. You can go right across Mount Terrible into Woods Point, so those sort of things. So, yeah, check that out. But for a good snow drive, I like heading out through Lacola. It's probably one of my favourite places to get up into, particularly if the snow's really on. Head up Tambaretha Road and Maroka Road, and you always get a good snow drive up through there. So they're areas I certainly like to get into. Craig T, how you going, mate? Thanks very much there for dropping in. NB, I think Alpine Diesel has Kero in it. Yeah, look, I've heard people sort of suggest that, and that it probably got Kero, and because like when I started my full drive there on each of those mornings, you can smell it, and it's got a bit of a smelly, sort of a Kero-y smell there coming out through the exhaust there. So you might be on the money there, mate. Matt, just tuned in. Did you say you mix your own Alpine Diesel? Yeah, I do, mate. I do mix my own, and I mix it every single time and just do a splash and dash. The Alpine servos if I need to with a bit of Alpine fuel because they're all at the tanks now. So, yeah, mate, I do mix my own all the time. MP, what brand of winter mix do you use? And as I sort of showed there, mine's just a flash lube, winter fuel additive formula. Pretty much pick it up at I think probably most of the reputable sort of vehicle places like Super Cheap and all those sort of places. But I know you can buy this particular one in the bottle at Mansfield. They certainly serve it at the BP there, and so does the I'm not sure what brand it is. I think it's the Shell or whatever's on the corner roundabout there near the pub in Bright. They also sell that one as well. So you can certainly buy it at some of the service stations around the high country in the bottle form, and then you've got it forever. Because look, it's a 250 mil bottle, and I only use 100 mil per 90 litres. So you're going to get sort of good few mixes out of it whenever you're going to go up. Getting dirty, full drive ventures. How you go, mate? Great tips in the video. Thanks very much. Greatly appreciate that. Learning a lot from it. Excited to head up in the high country next month. Well, hopefully you'll get a bit of snow up there, mate. We're all going to be looking forward to it. It's great we can all get out and camp a little bit now after everything's been going on. So, good to get back out. So hopefully you have a cracking trip and look after yourself when you get up there next month, mate. Damien, roughly how many litres of Alpine Diesel does one of those little bottles of additive make? As I say, I use 100 mil of this, and this is what's recommended if you read the instructions on the back. It says 100 mil per 100 litres, but look, my main tank's a 90 litre tank, so I just put 100 mil in that, and never had a problem with it. So that's how I mix mine, mate. Robert Lewis, thanks for sharing your great videos in detail. Thanks very much, mate. I greatly appreciate the feedback there. Aaron, what brand of catch can do you have recommended? Well, I've got one, I can't remember the brand of it now, but if you give the guys a call down there at Diesel Tune Australia down there in Dandenong, have a chat with Matt, and mate, he'll tell you everything you need to know about catch cans and brands and what's suitable for whatever vehicle you got. So definitely have a chat with him, mate. That's for sure. Ross Stanford, what tyre pressures is due to run when you're on the bitumen, mate, and get better tyres, wear and tear on your tyres? On the bitumen, well, I've got 33-inch tyres there, and I run 38 PSI, and I've run 38 PSI for, long time. Seems to be my number with my vehicle. So 38 PSI on the road, mate, is my number, and I just stick to it all the time. And then as far as going off-road, well, that can fluctuate anywhere between sort of 20 and 14, depending on what's going on. So there we go. So one last here. What's going on? ADV Mark, does Alpine Diesel affect hot weather in performance? Not really sure about that, because I only use it during the colder months, like this time of year. So I'm not really sure about the hot months. You probably wouldn't use it certainly over the summer months. I'm sure you probably wouldn't need to. So it's really only over this time of year, and when the temperatures are getting down really low, we need to think about it. Bostar, it's going there, mate. Does diesel without an additive, once the sun comes up, does it warm up a bit? Well, it does. It certainly does. But as I say, if it gels up and freezes up in your lines badly enough, it's not one of those things that just thaws out. It's like a clot in your artery sort of thing. It's that kind of thing. So you just need to be really careful about what's going on with it. Gary Graham, g'day mate, how you going? Missing the high country. We headed up over Barrington Tops over the weekend, along with half of New South Wales. Well, there was a lot out in Vic. Don't worry about that, mate. It's probably a good thing. Good to see people out. Which was chilly, but not sub-zero. Great advice, and as usual, greatly appreciate your tips and feedback there, mate. Good on you, Gary. Thank you. Chuck Berry, what's going there, mate? We were up at Tamboretha Road over the weekend. Fella that, where are we? And thought there would have been more traffic. Tamboretha Road, well, we didn't go through Tamboretha, but we went up through it as well. Went past Howard Eye Plains there on Tamboretha Road, but we had no one there on Saturday. But there was a stack of people down at the Collar General Store. But Tamboretha Road was pretty quiet. But we managed to find a nice little spot up there in high elevation, and had a cracking spot there. About 1560 we were camping. Absolutely beautiful spot. Greg, do you change out your engine oil for winter oil? Never really thought about that one, mate. No, I just still do my normal oil changes right throughout the year. I just do the same oil changes and same times in between, about every 5,000 Ks. So, not really thought about that one, mate. But, maybe one I might maybe have to have a bit of a look at. Four-wheeler, what's going there, mate? Go the petrol ZDK. It's going all right, mate. Only additive. Oh, no, I need to throw in this in the beers. Well, if it might warm me up, mate, and it's going to stop you thawing out, I'm not sure I'd go drinking it, but there's other ways of warming up, that's for sure. A few bourbons or something like that might be a better option than drinking that sort of additive. But anyway, Ross, thanks very much, mate, for your time. Thanks very much, the LGU, for the first time that runs like this weekend, going out some tracks and to give her a try. There you go. Well, hopefully it all works for you, mate, and hopefully have a good weekend out. I'm not sure when there's snow sort of forecast. There's not a great deal on the sort of radar at a minute, looking at some of those high elevation sort of places from Hotham and Buller and that sort of stuff. But, it hopefully won't be too far away. One last year, Anthony, was it busy at Wonnangatta on the weekend? Look, there were quite a few people in there, but look, Wonnangatta's a massive, massive place, mate. You can always generally find a spot to, find a place in your own, which we certainly did. We were over there sort of on the Conglomerate Creek and had a cracking spot there. So, no worries. But the tracks were pretty busy going in and out of Wonnangatta. But we had a pretty good run going down Zika Spur in, past a few convoys coming out. But apart from that, it's pretty good there, mate. Right, we'll wrap this up. So there you go, guys. There's some things to certainly think about with winter season now upon us, particularly if you've got a diesel full drive there. do consider, your fuel and have a think about it. I'm not saying you have to, but certainly some good tips to think about it. And particularly if when you're going to top up there at the service stations, have a bit of think about that one too. Well, there you go, guys. Thanks very much for everyone dropping in tonight. Great feedback. Loving having a chat with you guys. It's all going really, really good. If you've got some topics, you'd maybe like me to have a bit of a chat about, just chuck them in the comments down below. I'll have a read of those a bit later on, and we'll look at doing some live chats on some other topics that you guys might want some information on further down the track. So until next week, guys. Thanks very much. You guys have a great week, great weekend, and we'll see you a bit later on. Hooroo.